So let's dive right in today, shall we? The title of my message is Love Story. Love Story. So give your friend sitting next to you a little heart emoji. Give that a little heart emoji. Come on, don't be shy. Okay, yeah, yes. So, and thank you, worship team, for doing a special, rendition of the song. I requested for them to do a love story song from Taylor Swift. So, great job, okay? All right, so we're going to be talking about love, right? In every one of our heart, there is a longing for love. We have an intense need to be loved and to be accepted. Whether you are a hopeless romantic or a stoic, logical person, deep down inside our hearts, we all want to be loved. Right? So do you know that the human heart creates enough energy to drive a truck for 32 km? Approximately 66 rounds in a stadium. And so in a lifetime, right, when our heart is pumping, right, that is equivalent, the energy is equivalent to driving to the moon and back. So when you tell someone that you love them to the moon and back, you're saying that you will love them with all the blood, that your blood pumps your whole life. Okay? So, to all you guys, to all the TiVo community, I want to say that I love you to the moon and back. Yeah, so we all want to be loved, right? And a lot of times, we just want to be loved. For some of us, we just want to be loved by our parents, right? So we do our best to meet expectations, to surpass their expectations, to be someone that they can be proud of. And at times, right, we take what they say very, very personally and very personally to heart because we love them and we want to be loved by them. Right? For some of us, we just want to be loved by our friends. So we do our best to fit in cliques, in groups. We dress the part. We spend money and spend the part. We talk the part, right? And at times, we get insecure over what friends think or say about us. Because we just want to be loved by them. Some of us, we just want to be loved by anyone and anything. Have you heard people say that before, right? Like, I just want to be loved. Anyone will do, anything will do. So we go looking for love on everywhere, on social media to be popular. We got to take those Insta-worthy posts, TikTok famous, reels, We got to get those impossible shots because they give us the most likes and the most, attention. We go looking for love in romantic relationships at every chance. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes by walking in our direction, we feel like this is true love, right? We welcome every attention. Except, I really want to remind all of us and all the youth here that don't live for likes and love on social media. Because it is not lasting, right? You take a picture for keepsake. Take it because you want to, but don't do it for likes and attention. Because likes and attentions are not real love. And also, relationships are good. But not every guy or girl or person or anyone who gives you attention necessarily cares about you or love you. Because sometimes they lust after you, not love you. And the thing is, you deserve love, not lust. So sometimes we go looking for attention in relationships as a way to boost our confidence, to fill our insecurity. But that is not love, okay? You don't need a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a person to show the world that you are worthy to be loved. You are worthy. You are good. Period. Right? Why should a boy's attention gets to decide my self-worth? Do you need to be attractive to every boy who is in the room? No, you don't, right? And you shouldn't, right? So that's why it's important and it's good that, for all the youth and all the young person, don't rush into relationships because you deserve better. You deserve to be loved. Not just any Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes by and say hi. All right? So what is real love then? Because it seems like true love isn't pretty picture perfect, right? It isn't always red roses, expensive wine. It's definitely not hopeless, romantic, sweet lines, right? So what's true love? Well, I love what 1 Corinthians 13 says about love, right? You can look it up on the projection. It says, love never gives up. Love cares more for others than for self. Love doesn't want what it doesn't have. Love doesn't strut, doesn't have a swelled head, doesn't force itself on others, isn't always me first, doesn't fly off the handle, doesn't keep score of the sins of others, doesn't revel when others grovel, takes pleasure in the flowering of truth, puts up with anything. Trust God always, always looks for the best. Never looks back, but keeps going to the end. So this should be a good checklist for us to love better. So I want you to take a moment to replace the word love with your name and read it to yourself one more time. Okay? So you're going to say your own name, so we're going to say it together, shall we? Okay, we're going to say it together. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So Karis never gives up. Karis cares more for others than for self. Karis doesn't want what it doesn't have. Karis doesn't have a swelled head, doesn't force itself on others, isn't always me first, doesn't fly off the handle, doesn't keep score of the sins of others. When others grovel, takes pleasure in the flowering of truth, puts up with anything, trusts God always, always looks for the best, never looks back, but keeps going to the end. Okay? So I want you to take a moment and go, okay, that is going to be me working towards it. Working towards loving better. Okay? So I can't go through all of the quality of love, but I will highlight 3 things about love from this passage. And alongside that, I want to share 3 love stories with everybody. Okay? So this message is for all of us who wants to love better, and it is also for us to receive genuine love better. Okay? So the first is love isn't always me first. Love isn't always me first. So the first love story, okay, here we go. The protagonist of our story is an organism, a tiny organism that measures between 50 to 300 micrometers. A very, very tiny, tiny microorganism, and he is known as the radiolaria. So he belonged to this group of organisms called zooplankton. And so if you don't know microorganisms, right, most of the time, they live in a colony. But for the radiolaria, its existence is a solitary. It exists alone, composing of one and only one cell. And he is entrapped within an elegant psyllium skeleton. So I don't want to give you the actual picture because it has a lot of little dots and holes. So it might trigger some fears. So this is the best that I can find. Okay, it is a very tiny organism that lives in the middle, inside a skeleton casing. And its only experience of the world is limited by the space within that skeleton. So the radiolaria is alone in this finite world. He is the impenetrable center of his own universe. He can't get out, and his world is just that. So the radiolaria is subjected to the will of the flow of the water. He drifts through the ocean seeking for food, seeking for prey. And as he wanders, he will feed himself, and then he procreates, and then he's in this never-ending cycle of survival. So even though his life cycle doesn't last more than 2 weeks, time must have gone by very, very slowly for his solitary journey through existence. Okay, but amazing thing is that the thing that radiolaria doesn't know is that he is not alone. Around his nucleus shines a microscopic glow that keeps him company. And if you look a couple hundreds of micrometer closer, right, this glow around his skeleton, and the outer case is in fact an algae. Okay, an algae. And he is let me try this. He is the zooxanthellae. Okay, a zooxanthellae is a symbiotic algae. And thanks to his chlorophyll pigment, right, it has the capacity to synthesize light. And that is why it gives off a certain glow. So this bright algae accompanies the radiolaria as it drifts in the water. So from the human eye, the reality of their connection is invisible, right? It's so tiny. The radiolaria feeds off the plasma that the algae produces, and the algae uses the radiolaria's complex skeleton as a shelter. So they kind of benefit each other, right? But the thing is, these two beings never really meet at all. But their destiny is joined such that when the radiolaria dies, the algae dies as well. So how do scientists and everybody know about this story is they found fossils that dates back to 500 years ago. So it is a very old story and it's a very small story. Okay, and it's a reminder to us that we are never alone. But what's cool is that in the 19th century, when German zoologist Ernest Haeckel was observing these microscopic organism interactions, right, he invented this term ecology. And he said this, that our world is an unified whole connected within an immense network where each form of reality, depending on one another, meets in an unconscious way. Okay, I say again, our world is an united whole connected within an immense network where each form of reality, depending on one another, meets in an unconscious way. So love isn't always about me. Love isn't always about you, right? Love is about we. So the shift that we got to make is to go from ego to eco, right? Because he was talking about ecology. So we got to go from ego, our own ego, where we are above everybody else and I'm the most important being and I'm the most important person in this universe, to eco. So an egocentric world is one where it's all about me, I and myself. Me first all day, every day. My wants, my needs, my rules. I don't care if it affects other people or not. I do what I want to do. You know, it's always what I can do better, have better than the friend sitting next to me, than the colleague sitting next to me, than my friend who is next to me. It's all about getting more power, step over people, over as many people as possible to get to the top. Because there can only be one champion, and that's going to be me. Right? Have more success to control people and to control things. But an ecocentric person or world, ecology, on the other hand, is about we. It's about I am not the center of this world. That I receive from nature and from others, and I give what I can to nature and to others. I care that what I do and say is helping and not hurting. I think about how we can all get along better, happy together. So it's so true, right, that, ego gets in the way of love. If we are egoistical, proud person, it gets in the way of us loving and receiving love better. You cannot love well if you are always right and other people is always wrong. You cannot love well if your feelings are always valid and other people's feelings are not. So for all of you, what I want to encourage us is that love is to humbly receive and is to give back generously. Two things. Receive from God, receive from people, receive the good that this world offers. Okay, you are not alone in this world. You are loved and you are worthy of love. So learn to receive love from people. But at the same time, give back generously. Shall we? To choose eco over our own ego. So that's the first story. The second is love never gives up. Love never gives up. And the second love story is really cute. It's about a friendship between this penguin called Din Dim and a 71-year-old man. So in 2011, 71-year-old man, this man over here called Joel, he found a South American penguin covered in oil on a beach on an island off the coast of Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. Okay, yes. And he basically took the stuffed penguin back home, nursed him back to health, and then after he took him back to the sea and then he let him go, right? But very cute is Din Dim, the penguin, right? He went out into the sea and then he turned around and came back and refused to go. And he stayed with him for 11 months before disappearing as soon as he changed his coat for new feathers. Initially, he thought that this is a once-off event. But to his surprise, every year since for the next 5 years, this penguin Din Dim will swim over 5,000 miles from his homeland on the Patagonian coast back to to his home. So if you see here, oops, this is Patagonia, right? It's at the bottom there. All the way up is Brazil. So he will arrive in June, and then he will stay up to 5 to 8 months before heading off again. And as we know, this penguin had a special bond with him because this penguin wouldn't let any other stranger come close or pet him. So because of the bond they share, Joel showed up on the beach every single year, hoping to see penguin Din Dim again. So think about it, this story is in 2011, right? And the reporter who has wrote this story went back last year or the year before to kind of interview and catch up with him, that every single year he has been waiting by the beach. So it has been a good 10 years already, because this is 2022-23, right? So when I say love never gives up, I'm talking about love having this quality of it never loses hope. That it is always hopeful. Love is committed. Love is always showing up for others. So for all of you here, love isn't just a feeling you speak about. It isn't a feeling you post about. It is a commitment. It is showing up. So what is showing up? Maybe you'll be asking. Well, showing up means showing up. Show up, okay? Reply your friends. Reply your teams. Reply one another. Okay, show up in your friendships. And what that means is to be a consistent, committed friend. In what ways, you may ask, right? If you say you are going to help, then help. If you say you're going to do something, do it, keep your word. Be committed in supporting and celebrating your friends. So for all of you, don't run hot and cold. What I mean is where one moment you are happy and excited, and then the next moment, almost immediately, you are randomly moody. And you don't want to talk, and you just pull a sulky face and sit at a corner. Or 80% of the time, you are moody and unhappy, and nobody knows who, what, when, where, how it happens, why you are feeling this way. Right? You are not consistent in your response. So I encourage you, show up consistently for others. Love better, amen? So show up in your friendship even when it's difficult. Right? So I can understand that sometimes when things are difficult, we need space, correct? We need a bit of a time to kind of sort things through, right? So needing space is fine. It's important, it's good, it's necessary. But sometimes showing up for others is you need to have that deeper conversations with your friend, rather than just sweeping it under the rug. So showing up means it is difficult. This is, it's hard, but I'm going to have that conversation of, hey, I am sorry about what I said. I'm sorry about what I did, right? Even though it's a difficult conversation. Or is I feel hurt by what you said. I hurt by what you did to me. Or is, hey, let's talk about this thing that is important to me. Hey, let's work this through, that this is an issue. Let's work this through. So I want you to think about, how can I show up for others better? How can I love better? How can I be more committed, more consistent in my friendships with my friends? Okay? And lastly, love cares more for others than for self. So just a quick recap. The first one is, love isn't always about me first. Second one is, love never gives up. And the last one is, love cares more for others than for self. So the epitome of great love is Jesus, right? And the greatest proof of that love is that he cares more for others than for self. John 15:13, it says that no one has greater love than to give up one's life for one's friends. So, and Jesus demonstrated this greatest level of love by giving up his life for us some 2,000 years ago. See, all of us, we are born into a broken world, right? With sins, evils, shortcomings, struggles, violence, and almost every other corner. And we also perpetuate this brokenness because we are not perfect. And we are no better than someone else. And so it's this vicious cycle of humanity that we are always somehow headed towards violence and destruction of some kind. Either violence towards ourselves, towards others, towards our world, towards our nature, towards creation. And so we are in this cycle where we're affecting people, we're being affected by other people, but we're also affecting other people. And so Jesus died for us so as to redeem humanity from this cycle, which is what we believe, and what I believe, that our connection and relationship with Jesus can transform the essence of humans' heart. It brings humanity back on track to its original goodness, purpose, and meaning. And Jesus taught us and showed us how to live life in a different way. So, this is interesting. Times magazine, right, wrote about Jesus. So he is the greatest of all time. So it said that he is, Jesus, the single most powerful figure, not merely in these 2 millenniums, but in all human history, has been Jesus of Nazareth. A serious argument can be made that no one else's life has proved remotely as powerful and enduring as that of Jesus. So Jesus is ranked as the number 1 most influential, well-known person not just in the whole year, but in the whole of history by Times Magazine. You can take your guesses who's the next one, right? And the Bible is the number 1 bestseller book of all times as well. Jesus has impacted far more lives than anyone. He has influenced culture, religion, life, values, politics. He has influenced far more literature, knowledge, wisdom, lifted people higher than any other teachers of the ages, which I believe is the reason for the evolution of mankind's hearts and minds and knowledge in the last 2,000 years than compared to 300,000 years ago when the first Homo sapiens appeared. Right? Jesus has breathed far more into paintings, sculptures, art, construction than any others. And perhaps the most important one is that he is responsible for far more good, compassion, humanitarian, equity, love, and freedom. So if we study the life of Jesus, it's interesting because his life, aside from the miracles that he has done, is pretty ordinary. He was born of Virgin Mary. Of course, that is very powerful, right? He was raised in a humble Jewish family. He never traveled more than 200 miles from his birthplace. He had a small group of followers, mostly ordinary men. He was killed for violating religious laws unjustly. Jesus never received any political power. He never raised any army. He never conquered any territory. But so by historical standards, as compared to like kings and rulers, we know, right? Jesus did not cut it as an influential figure in terms of political power, economics, military power. So why the powerful influence? right? Until even today. Why the greatest of all times of all history? And that is precisely the reason that Jesus turned the world on its head on so many things that we do not have time to go through all at a go, right? Which is, in a world where everyone is so interested in seizing and accumulating more power, that Jesus is going in the opposite direction. Where he talks about what is the true purpose of life, what is good, what is important, what exactly is life all about. While the world is all about oppressing the poor, the weak, the minorities, all about power, Jesus is about justice, generosity, freedom, and loving our enemy. So I encourage all of us here, even if you're a new friend, even if you are a new Christian, I encourage you, go read the Bible. Go read Matthew all through John. If you haven't, it will change your life. So, Jesus, God loves us with this purest kind of love. A sacrificial kind of love that dies to himself so as to bring life to another person. And it's very amazing to say that we are loved by such a God and such in this manner, that we have not done anything to deserve such unconditional, sacrificial kind of love. But this is the way Jesus loves us. This is the way Jesus loves our world and his creation. Then in Philippians 2:5-8, it says that adopt the attitude that was in Christ Jesus, that though he was in the form of God, he did not consider being equal with God something to exploit. But he emptied himself by taking the form of a slave and by becoming like human beings. And when he found himself in the form of a human, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on the cross. Sometimes when I look at the life of Jesus, or even when new friends, right, when they look at the life of Jesus, and they might have this question, why does Jesus die for us? Right? We don't know him at all. We have not existed 2,000 years ago. Why would God do such a thing for people who don't even know him? But the thing is, God knows you. And that is the difference. God knows you before your first breath. He knows you even before you existed. He knows you even before you come and step into this world. So there was a story that really, really touched me, right? It was a story of an elderly man. And he was rushing to his doctor's appointment at 8 a.m. in the morning. And he was telling the doctor that he needed to, hurry the appointment. And he was hurrying the doctor along and said that, he had to get on to another appointment. And so the doctor was very confused and he was like, what? Why are you rushing? And where are you going? What are you having, right? This old man. And then the old man proudly say that every single morning at 9 a.m., he would go to the hospital and have breakfast with his wife. And then the doctor asked, oh, your wife is in the hospital. What's the condition? And, why are you going there? Right? And he replied that for the past 5 years, his wife has had Alzheimer and hadn't known who he is. So every single day, he would go there, he would introduce himself, and he will have breakfast with his wife. And the doctor asked the old man why he continued to visit her when she had no idea who he was. And the old man replied, say, because I still know who she is. So sometimes you ask, why did God do what he does for people? That's because he knows you. That's because he knows his creation. That's because he knows us. He knows humanity. He knows this is his creation whom he loved. And that is why he does what he does, right? Because he loves you. So love is caring more for others than for self. And youth, I really want to encourage us that let's work towards this. Let's work towards caring for others and for self. But at times, caring others more than ourselves. Sometimes, we say that love is sacrifice, right? I want to encourage all of you, sometimes love is sacrificing comfort. Sacrificing what's comfortable for you. What's comfortable for you. For example, eating with a friend, having a meal with a friend at their favorite food place, even though you don't enjoy the food. Playing their favorite game even though you have no clue what the game is about. Sacrificing comfort is helping to take pictures of your friends rather than asking your friends to take pictures of you all the time. It is posting about your friends rather than your own selfies all the time. Caring for others more than yourself. Offering to help rather than comfortably sitting in a corner scrolling your phone. Right? I mean, even for the tertiary, for the adults, I can say this, that I find sometimes the older we get, the good thing is that we become more and more certain about what we enjoy and what we don't, right? What we like and what we don't like. I think that's a good thing about growing up, from experiences, bad experiences. You kind of decided, oh, this is good and that's not good, right? But love is sometimes being flexible about those things. Because you care more for others than your comfort. I don't mean that you need to love everything and you need to enjoy doing everything, but you are able to sacrifice comfort and convenience to love greater at times. Because love is caring more for others than for self. So I want to read 1 Corinthians again, right? 13:3-7 says, love never gives up. Love cares more for others than for self. Love doesn't want what it doesn't have. Love doesn't strut, doesn't have a swelled head, doesn't force itself on others, isn't always me first, doesn't fly off the handle, doesn't keep score of the sins of others, doesn't revel when others grovel, takes pleasure in the flowering of truth, puts up with anything, trusts God always looks for the best, never looks back, but keeps going to the end. Amen. So I want to invite everyone, to stand up with me.